Yeah, I want to circle back on something that you said, Fanta. You said we have to find a way to get 68 teams in the field, which is a perfect segue to talk about T.O.'s past life when he was an ACC guy. He's not an ACC guy anymore. He's a Big East guy now.
I'm still an ACC guy.
No, you're not. You're a Big East guy. You're on board with us. You're on the DTF.
Way to stay loyal, Terrence.
You are a Big East guy through and through. Look, you could be an ACC guy again next year. You can't be an ACC guy when the second best team.
No.
You don't just leave your roots.
No,
you don't just leave your roots. I'm still a Tennessee. I still grew up in Tennessee. I'm still a Tennessee guy.
You got to get up out the ACC, man. You got to cut ties with them.
Anyone said that?
We got to pretend it doesn't exist. You can't rep the ACC that hard when your second best team is getting 30-pieced by Kentucky in Las Vegas. So I do want to talk a little bit about North Carolina, Kentucky, and kind of what that means, big picture for the ACC as a whole. We were talking about it a little bit off air, T.O. Are we looking at 3 bids for the ACC outside of Duke? Like, let me phrase it like this: outside of Duke, is there anyone that you would be willing to put like $10,000 down on to be able to make it to the NCAA tournament? Is there anyone that you feel confident in saying, I know that team's going to be
in? Duke.
Yeah, other than them. It gets ugly real quick.
You know what? I just feel like the conference season still matters. And obviously, I just feel like Carolina's going to be able to win enough games. One team that guys are slow to jump on the bandwagon, Londis Williams and Wake Forest. We had Forbes on the other night. Like, those guys are good. They're old, they're athletic, they guard. And man, I was texting with one of their assistant coaches the other night. That might be the best skip passing team. And it's such a detail. They might be the best skip passing team in America. Because they are able to
that's the nerdiest basketball.
It is. It's awfully nerdy, but it's become so important in today's basketball game.
Yeah, it is.
Because they get into the paint, and the game-winning shot from Alondis Williams, who had 35, and any other player who has 35 at the end of the game, he's going to shoot that ball because the game was tied. He's going to put that ball up near the rim and try to make it happen. He's a senior who had the maturity to get down lane line, come off 2 feet, make a skip pass right in the shooter's pocket to Isaiah Musius. Like, I'm talking right in the numbers. And it wasn't just him. Like, Dallas Walton, Charlotte tried to throw a bunch of bodies at Dallas Walton, and he's making skip passes from the block to the opposite 45 right in the numbers. And I was just amazed because it's such a hard pass for 5 guys to consistently make, and they do it. And what happens when they do that is Wake Forest is a threat on every catch because, Musius is not somebody that's going to create his own shot at a high level. He's tried the past 3 years, hadn't been able to do it. This year, he's getting catch and shoot opportunities. He's getting closeouts. That's great for him. Davion Williamson is very good, a little undersized, very good, but he's really good whenever guys are flying at him. He can make something happen. And Alondis Williams, man, that dude's going to get paid. Some of the passes that he makes, I mean, he's got 30 points, and he never seems like he forces the issue. So I would go Wake Forest there, North Carolina, Duke. After that, it's up in the air, and I can't really.
I'm looking at the net rankings right now, and that's what's going to matter is kind of where you are, because there's a certain limit for, like, if you're not a top 50 or top 60 team in the net, like, you can pretty much write off the possibility of getting an at-large bid. Right now, here are the teams that are top 50 in the net in the ACC. Duke is 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech is 28th. Wake Forest is 34th. I think those 3 teams are going to put themselves in a pretty good position to get a bid.
Carolina's going to make it, guys.
Carolina is 46th right now in the net.
They're going to make it.
I think that they'll probably make it.
They're going to make it for the same reason they didn't get in trouble for all that crap they got into a couple of years ago. They're going to make it. They bring too much money. They're going to make it. If there's like any shadow of a doubt, Carolina's going to make it.
Do you know who is the 5th best team right now in the net in the ACC?
Give it to me.
Your boys.
Out of here. Dude, if they take care of West Virginia and St. Bonaventure, close those games out, we're living. We got to finish games, boys.
Yeah,
we got to finish games.
If the queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Hey, look. Those are things you got to fix as the season rolls on, guys. Those are things you got to fix.
The biggest issue you're going to run into with these teams is just that, like, there's not going to be that level of quality win.
No, you made your bed. Your bed is made.
But
your
it-
bed is made. If the sheets are on, man, the sheets are on it.
Yep.
Bed's made, and this is how it is for any league that might be having a tougher season. There's going to be some teams who make it. I give credit to Coach Forbes and Wake Forest. I think he was a terrific hire by them.
Oh, perfect hire. Well,
They had to get that right, and Steve Forbes has done a terrific job in a short period of time. And they play incredibly hard. Like, watch Wake Forest play. They embody what he's about. That's kind of it's a hidden gem in the league, and it's been a little while. But man, you think about some of the players that have come out of that program. Wake Forest is special deep down, and I think he can keep that going. I like what I'm seeing from them. Carolina's going to figure out a way to make it. Duke will make it. And again, they got to find a way to get to 68. We'll see if anybody else emerges as a candidate, but it's a 4-bid league max.
hey, you can recruit to Wake Forest. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this.
It's hard though, T.O. You got Carolina, you got Duke, you got
It is hard, but man, if you guys remember whenever I was in school, like 2008, 2009, do you remember who all was on that team? Jeff Teague, Ish Smith, Al Farouk Aminu. Like, and then they were bringing in 2 or 3 McDonald's All-Americans. Like, you can recruit to Wake Forest.
Who did they lose to in the NCAA tournament? This is a big.
I don't know, but I feel like you do.
They lost in Miami to Norris Cole, Jordan Montgomery, and freaking Gary Waters. Cleveland State blew their doors off of them in Miami in the NCAA tournament. I was watching with my dad going crazy. But you're right. I'm watching Wake Forest play that game. I'm like 13 years old. I'm sitting there and saying, Dad, Wake can get some players.
Yeah.
Cleveland State's not they're beating a team handily that has some real players. They got dudes. So you're right. You can recruit. It's changed though. I mean, you got to get, like, again, in this sport, get the 3-star who you think can become the 4 or 5-star. So that's okay sometimes. Fans don't love that, but it happens. I've watched it with programs in the Northeast. Get the kid who you think can become a 4 or 5-star player.
The difference between a 3-star, the difference between a 3-star is about 3 inches and 30 pounds. And like, so you're still going to be outmatched whenever you play Duke, Carolina. Like,
Who does that?
Like, you still got to find ways to do it. Like,
Who does that, Robert?
It was a weird. I'm not going to say it was a weird sign. It was kind of a no-brainer to get Forbes because they had a prior relationship over at University of Tennessee because Curry was at Tennessee and yada, yada, yada. But, Wake Forest, the university in this conference, is kind of looked at as like a academic, like bow tie wearing, like really kind of tight. It's a tight school. Like it's hard for me to, I'm not going to say snooty because I feel like the conference in general has that feel, but like a, bow tie, suited up, corduroy pants and weird shoes. Like,
it's a little bit like Virginia in that sense, where it's kind of there's some nerds there,
but with a smaller enrollment. I mean, Wake Forest private school.
Hold on a second.
There's some nerds there. There's some
yeah.
Yeah, but Rob, you were going to say, who's doing that with the 3-stars?
The guy that won last year's national title and that is currently sitting at number 1 in the country. Yes, he's got a couple 5-stars on that roster, but the way that they built that was through guys like Macy O'Teague and through guys like Adam Flagler and going and getting Davion Mitchell after a transfer and going and getting Jared Butler on his the second school that he ended up going to and going and getting Mark Vital and going and getting guys like Jonathan Shamwa-Chachua. Like, that's look at what Jay Wright's doing, right? Jay Wright won titles by getting guys that are like between 40 and 100. And
he's really having a hard time getting players.
Well, no, but he's not where when Villanova went from going after players that fit their pedigree to going after the highest ranked players that they could. That's when you saw that dip. That's when you saw them, like 2009, they made the Final Four. Then they weren't very good for like 3 or 4 years until they started going back to their identity, getting guys like Ryan Arcidiacono over maybe some guys that are higher ranked than him, identifying players that fit with what they want, right? Like Dante DiVincenzo, he was a top 75 guy. No one looked at him and said, yeah, he's going to end up being a first-round pick when he was coming out of high school. Same with like someone like a Mikal Bridge. Like they found guys that fit with what they wanted to do that were not necessarily automatic pros and turn them into pros. And that's kind of the model that you need to follow if you're going to have a lot of success. Can we turn this back to North Carolina?
No. One more. All right. So the sweet spot, I would agree with you. 40 to 100, you still get the size, you still get the talent, but it's not quite as talented as what people are going to be considering a one and done. So you get to hang on to them. I worked for a guy at Carson Newman University who was telling me this story about him and Billy Donovan. And he said, whenever they had that run with Teddy Dupay, Mike Miller, they made it all the way to the finals, lost to Michigan State in the national championship game. And then all of a sudden it was cool to go to Florida, and they go get Roberson. They go get David Lee. They go get all these 5-star kids. And Billy Donovan said, to hell with that. I'm going to go get the Al Horfords, the Joakim Noahs, the Lee Humphreys of the world, like the Torian Greens, like those 40 through 100s. And I'm going to hang on to them for a few years. Now it's changed because now you have to play those kids or the transfer. But that 40 to 100, if you can hang on to those guys for 4 years, I mean, then you can really be nationally relevant.